everyone. Myself Nitin Kumar, Assistant Professor Niftam Tundli. Welcome you all in a training module on cold chain and logistics funded by GIZ and organized by CII and Niftam Tundli. In this module, we will discuss on the storage requirement in the cold storage. After completing this module, one can able to design any cold storage based on the construction requirement or the specifications of the construction material for building, as well as the commodity storage conditions with method of pre-cooling and type of cooling practices, that is the circulation of cold air inside the cold storage. One can easily define the problem associated with the cold storage and their remedy also. At last, the compatibility of the groups of fruits or vegetables. For any cold storage building, one should know the storage practices of a commodity. Whether the commodity is for multi-purpose or a single commodity will be stored. In case of a multi-purpose, there will be a multi-purpose chambers and the capacity can vary from 30 metric ton to 1250 metric ton. There will be anteroom, there will be dot-in area inside a cold storage premises, then ready-in storing area, then crates, pallets and storage systems has to be handled within the premises itself. Material handling system, packaging of material stores should be there. There will be a machine rooms and the toilet and changing room for the bulkers has to be there. There must be a waste disposable systems inside the cold storage facilities with respect to disposal of the waste. In addition to this, to operations, there must be a electrical room or the facilities of the transformer. Foundation of a cold storage is very important with respect to the design parameters as well as the structure safety. So it may be a footing type, pile foundation, lap foundations. The foundation has to be designed by a qualified or licensed civil engineer. Design shall meet the BIS standard and the relevant seismic zone norms for the earthquake proof design. In case of cold chamber, the cold chamber has to design in such a way that it can be stored a single commodity or the multiple commodity, depends on the need, and the capacity may vary from 250 to 1250 metric ton. The total capacity of cold storage can be estimated based on the pallet frame positions considering 1000 kg per pallet positions or on PVC crate layout and product weight per crate. I will be discussing about the cold storage building. The building facilities can be completely civil constructions or steel constructions. The cold storage requires vapor barrier and thermal insulations. So for thermal insulations, one can use sandwich type insulated thermal panel or insulated material thickness changes as per the temperature ranges. It will change from geographical region to another geographical region required inside cold storage, and the capability of material of insulations. Polyurethane foams are generally used. Vapor barrier. A vapor barrier slows down the process by which moisture permeates construction component like drywall and insulations. When this moisture condenses in a cold environment, it is turned into the ice and ultimately the cooling capacity gets reduced. When ice accumulated for a long time, it can impact the thermal insulation as well as the structure of building. So it's very important to minimize the formation of ice in a cold storage. That means we have to minimize the entry of air inside the cold storage with surplus amount of moisture. In this slide, I will discuss about the parameters which is very much required for the construction of a cold storage. The wall should be of 230 mm, made up of brick walls, solid concrete blocks with sand or cement plaster. In case of roof, the roof can be of slab, RCC or roof with GS, pre-coated GS sheet cover. The RCC slab have to be proper with waterproofing with reflective color paint, and there must be some slope for rainwater drainage. There must be a provision for FRP seats for natural lighting to be made in roof seating at certain rotations. For ventilations, provisions of rigid monitoring or the turbo ventilator can be made. Alternatively, roof can also be designed by installing insulated roof panels with proper slope and ceiling of longitudinal as well as lateral joints. In case of steel or pre-engineered constructions, the wall, ceiling and the partitions are generally constructed of insulated matter steels composite structure panel with toll insulations of polyurethane. All the joints are properly sealed with silicon sealants for leak-proof joints. In case of floor, the floor comprises of base concrete in cold store with suitably lower labor in cold chamber. The labor difference between cold chamber and anteroom to be equal to the thickness of a floor insulation plus the layer of PCC or thermate finish. Anteroom. The cold room should be provided with at least one common anteroom to avoid direct infiltrations of warm ambient air into the cold room. What does it mean? There will be a cold room in which the commodity will be there. The person who go inside to store the commodity or pick out the commodity has to go first into the another room which is designated as an ante room. Afterwards, it will go out from the storage area. So next is bin, crate, pallets and lat. This should be in sufficient number to handle the products, and nowadays the bin and turrets may be replaced by ventilated CFB boards, that is corrugated fiber board. Strip curtains for cold room and air curtains for external outlets inlets. Dot loading and unloading dots shall be designed with RCC, slab, roof or sheet roofing. Certain accessories are there in the cold storage like flash water storage for fire extinguishers, firefighting, water supply, sanitary arrangements, compound wall, fencing, dates, security, small canteen etc. will be there inside the premises of a cold storage. Commodity storage conditions. A commodity is a product which generally stored into the cold storage, and based on their expiration date, storage time, temperature and the buyer's requirement, the product will be stored into a cold storage. The temperature range can vary between plus and minus 1 degree centigrade from the recommended temperature. The CO2 level should not exceed 2000 ppm and loading should not exceed 4000 ppm. The concentrations of CO2 and O2 should be regularly monitored and maintained as per the buyer's specifications or the commodity storage manual. So there are two things, one is controlled atmosphere storage and the other one is modified atmosphere storage. In case of modified atmosphere storage, we store the commodity with modified relative humidity as well as the temperature. Further, during the storage period, there is no monitoring of CO2 and O2 level. In case of controlled atmosphere storage, the product relative humidity or the CO2 level as well as the temperature will be monitored throughout and it changes based on the requirement. So humidity ranges is as per the storage practices. Loading pattern are also considered for sizing and storage chamber capacity for utilization of performance. Pre-tooling time is generally 4 to 6 hours. Appropriate method of pre-tooling for the commodities like apple, pears, mango, citrus, grapes, etc. There are different tooling methodology through which one can tool the temperature of a commodity after receiving. Commodity storage conditions. In case of air circulation, multi-commodity stores, the circulation rate can be 170 cubic meter per hour per metric ton of a product. After that, when the product reaches its storage temperature, airflow should be minimized up to 34 to 68 cubic meter per hour per metric ton of the product. In this picture, you can see the flow of air in is managed in such a way that each and every product will have the same amount of flow circulations. Statin, moving air can reach all the surface of a container and provide enough and quick cooling. Consider using well ventilated boxes or crate with positions vent. Ventilation requirement in cold storage chamber. To keep CO2 below 4000 ppm, there may be 2 to 6 air changes every day. Lighting conditions should be dark inside the cold storage. Air circulations. In this picture, this is very clear that air which is inside the room is circulated on the evaporative coil, and it gradually reduces their temperature, and the same air is flown or circulated on the commodity throughout the commodity inside the room. The movement of air can be achieved in two ways. It can be horizontal flow or vertical flow, and this is very important to discuss here, that horizontal flow is a very cost effective method and it can be utilized in a smaller warehouse. It requires fan with high driving force and speed, and the product has to be adequately covered, and the airflow from the fan must extend at least the length of the room. The only limitations is that it is suitable for the smaller warehouse. Next is air cooler with ducts. Because the ducts directs the air where it is needed, this system has the advantage of offering good air distributions. However, the distributions that require more expenditure and take up space in a cold room that could be utilized for the pallets. Yes, that is very much clear from the picture. From the top, air vents are there or the air ducts are there. The air are coming from the evaporator via this ducts for the cooling purposes. So one should clean the ducts also with a regular interval of time, and more pallet can be placed inside the refrigerator space when the air cooler is placed in an insulated storage area, which also made easier to the services. Next is insulated unit air cooler without ducts. Although there is no air duct in this air cooler, thermal activity supports air circulations. Distributions of air happens via natural convections, that is, the air moves from high temperature zone to the lower temperature zone. When valve and product heats the cold air, warmer air rises to the top of the room and travels in the thin layer beneath the ceiling back to the cooler. When air forms, cooler is heated up by valve and product stored in the chamber, then warmer air raises upward in the room and travels in thin layer just below the ceiling back towards cooler. The next type is penthouse cooler. In this figure, it is very much clear that the commodities are placed in the stack and the air is allowed to flow or thrown from the top of a space. Modular curtains. Space reconfigurations in cold storage environment is more difficult than it is in a typical warehouse, since temperature must be taken into the account. Vegetables requires a temperature of 10 degrees centigrade. Dairy product require a temperature of 1 degree centigrade, while in case of fresh meat, the temperature required is -2 degrees centigrade. On the other hand, the ice cream storage temperature can be between -18 to -40 degrees centigrade depending on the need and the process. Flexible fabric curtains offer greater flexibility and adaptability than permanent solid walls. Air curtains. The temperature of a cold zone rises every time when the door is opened for the storage or unloading of the commodity. So, air curtain provides a barrier over the entryway by pushing a steady stream of air across it. The same can be achieved with the help of high-speed rapid loader Doors, which can move up to 120 inch per second, is another option to improve the temperature management and reduce the temperature changes. The other option is loading dot, one of the location of a cold storage facility that receive the last attention. The refrigeration of a loading dot is necessary for effective quality control. Ice and condensations are the major problems involved into the cold storage, and this is because of the entry points where the door or barrier open too long or close slowly. There must be a gap into the outer storage or the sealed door. Item tape in a facilities, especially those that are packed with hydroscopic material, and it can come through the equipment or personal working in a space, the humidity level in the loading zone where the goods are in transit. Problems in cold storage facilities caused by unwanted ice and condensations. The packaging of items kept in a cold storage facilities can be harmed by melting ice or cooling condensations. Movement of human and vehicle of a transport good may be restricted. Accident may occur as a result of ice development on floor due to the condensations. Ice formations on product, packaging and pallet barcode can cause labels to break off or make it difficult to stand the product. Doors cannot close properly because of the ice. Workers feel more uncomfortable in high humidity facilities rather than in low humidity and the same temperature facilities. Ice need to be eliminated once it is formed. Non-productive uses of labor and additional energy used to defrost refrigerated equipment, fixtures and fitting when evaporator are iced up, they will operate inefficiently, requiring more energy. Mitigations. One method can be, once the ice has formed, take actions by de-icing and defrosting the area. The second, manage humidity to stop ice and condensations from really forming. Prevent entry to the moisture in the area of cold storage. Use dehumidifier when to reduce the humidity. Now I will be discussing the group of fruits or vegetables which will be having the same kind of storage temperature as well as a humidity range. So first one is group 1, that is the fruits and vegetables where the storage temperature ranges from 0 to 2 degrees centigrade with a humidity level 90 to 95%. You can see in this slide apples, apricot, then pears, beet, berries, cashew apple, coconuts are of same region as well as the grape. In group 2, fruits and vegetables are stored at 0 to 2 degrees centigrade with 95 to 100% relative humidity, and the product ranges are amarnath, then broccoli, cabbage, carrots, kiwi fruits, radish, peas, water chestnuts, onion. In case of group 3, fruits or vegetable, where the storage temperature is 0 to 2 degrees centigrade with 65 to 75 relative humidity. In this case, moisture will damage the product, and the product is garlic, onion, dry can be stored into this group. In case of group number 4, where the storage temperature is 4 to 5 degrees centigrade with a relative humidity is 90 to 95%, and you can see the types of commodity like cactus, lemons, mandarin. Group 5 with a storage temperature 10 degrees centigrade and relative humidity 85 to 90%, and the commodities are beans, okra, olive, cucumber, eggplant, etc. Potatoes are also in this group. Group number 6, fruits and vegetables where the storage is 13 to 15 degrees centigrade with 85 to 90% relative humidity, and these products are very sensitive for chilling injury, and the list of products are mentioned here like bananas, then sapota, lemons, potatoes. Next group is 7, where the fruits and vegetables are stored in a range of 18 to 21 degrees centigrade with a relative humidity of 85 to 90%. These are the list of commodity which is required this much amount of temperature and storage humidity, like watermelon, then tomatoes, pears, yams, sweet potato, etc. The products are ethylene sensitive. Once again, with a layout of multi-commodity cold storage facilities, here you can see different chambers are there, and the chambers having the different temperatures and relative humidity also. But first the product received at the door, and after uncovering, reading and sorting, it will be go inside the pre-cooling facilities and then stored into the chamber 1, chamber 2 or so on. So in this module, we have discussed about the construction requirement and the specifications for a civil building required for cold storage. Along with, we have discussed the commodity storage conditions as well as a method of pre-cooling activities. We discussed the cooling practices for the circulations of air also, and we grouped the fruits and vegetables based on their temperature of storage zone as well as the relative humidity conditions. Thank you.